It's story time day. It's story day. This is actually going to be a video where my face is in it the whole time. Blah, 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 blah. Hi everybody, welcome back to Bentley House. I'm Ara, and today I'm going to be doing kind of a story time video with you, so it's going to be a lot of my face and not so many miniatures. So if you're used to the tutorials, don't worry, they'll be back next week. But this week I wanted to do an encouraging video by showing you my failures. And it's not to be down on myself at all. It's really, I hope, my plan is for it to be more of an encouragement to beginning miniaturists to see that everybody makes mistakes. When you see my tutorials on YouTube, they're 20 minutes long or less. They have a perfectly done, somewhat perfectly done miniature at the end of the video, and you don't often see my struggles and mistakes along the way because that wouldn't be very helpful in a tutorial most of the time. So I wanted to make sure that you know that everybody makes mistakes, and if you're just beginning and you're getting frustrated, it is okay. The biggest thing with miniatures is that you keep going because everybody starts somewhere. So what I'm going to be sharing with you today are 3 miniature fails. 2 of them I have with me, and one of them was disposed of long ago. The first one I'm going to be telling you about is my very first miniature I ever made. Now, to preface that, I did go to architectural school, so I had made models in the past, which gave me this kind of I knew what I'm doing when it comes to miniatures type attitude before I had even started, and I was super wrong. So I joined this miniatures group, and each month they had this contest where they would give you something that was a household object that you could just find and use in a miniature. And I remember very clearly it was paper clips, and I decided to make a chandelier from paper clips. And I'll have to see if I can find the photo for you to understand just how bad this was. I didn't have any wire bending tools or experience. If I can find a picture, I will insert it right here so you can see the clankiness. The thing I remember the most is I put it in a drawer, and then about 2 or 3 years later I opened the drawer and it was like way in the back, wrapped up in a paper towel, and I pulled it out, and I just remember thinking, who mangled all of my paper clips? Who took the paper clips out of my drawer and just unbent them all and made a mess out of them? And then it dawned on me that it was my first miniature that I was holding in my hands. And it went in the trash. I learned from that miniature and I kept going. I didn't let it discourage me. I was thinking, okay, what's the next contest? And so that's what my encouraging stories are supposed to be today, to show you keep going. Don't get discouraged. Don't think this is horrible, I can't do this. Because no matter what your background is, you're going to have struggles. And the reason for this is because miniatures are so diverse. Just to make one miniature, you may have to know about some woodworking skills. You have to know about glue. You have to know about paint. Depending on what you want to make, you may need to know about paper clay or polymer clay. Or ceramic clay, which I have no experience with at all. You might need to know about metalworking if you want to make some kind of metal bed frame, which I also have no idea about at all. If you watched my tutorial last week, you will see that I struggled a lot, and that's because I was using polymer clay, which I am very new to, and my next miniature, you'll see why. I tried it in the beginning and yeah, didn't go well. But there's so much to learn that you have to give yourself grace and a little bit of time to learn it. And you'll get there. If you're really passionate about it, you'll get there. So, my next story time lives in this box, away from the light. I decided to try and make my own dolls without any experience, which is fine. I think it's great to try something without any experience. I mean, how else are you gonna learn? You're just gonna sit there and wait for experience to strike you in the face? You have to try, you have to go for it. You have to do something you're uncomfortable with in order to learn from that experience and make something better down the road. This is the wrong box. I'll be right back. I was buried a little deeper than I thought. So here is the first doll I ever made. I made Morticia for my Addams Family project, and actually I'm pretty proud of this doll, especially for being one of my first dolls. I'm fairly proud that it looks like the character it's supposed to be. I did not know how to make a dress, so it's just fabric wrapped around her and then the bottom is just kind of cut. She kind of stands up, her arms are movable, but and then her hair, I was very proud of actually wigging a doll with viscose and being successful. Here's where the inexperience comes in, the things that you learn along the way. Pardon me, I'm going to show you her cleavage close up, but I need to show you this part. Whatever, I can't even remember what it is that I used as a finishing spray on her, made the hair stick to her skin. And it looks awful. This doesn't happen with most doll makers, so somewhere along the way I messed up. And it's not because I wasn't trying my hardest or I didn't do my research. It's one of those things that you have to learn. What is the finish you have to put on polymer clay in order for things not to stick to it, for it to last for years. It's just one of those things you have to learn, and you're not going to know every single step and every single thing along the way. Even if you're following a really talented, experienced artist's tutorial, sometimes things get missed, and a detail like this is important, how to keep stuff from sticking to your clay. My next doll I made probably within a year of making Morticia. You will see that I kind of learned from my experience. Whatever finish I used on it, I did not use on this guy. I made Pugsley. And the reason he is so misshapen is because he's supposed to sit in the electric chair. So I actually sculpted him on the electric chair. But if you can tell, his body is not proportional. This is his knee to foot ratio. If he were standing, he wouldn't quite be proportional. Plus, he's probably about the size that Uncle Fester should be. As you can tell from his face, I do not have a shiny finish on him, but he also does not have a very smooth face. I didn't know anything about smoothing clay. Also, his hands are supposed to look like they're on top, sitting on top of the electric chair, but really it just looks like his hands are backwards or some kind of paw, like animal paw. And the other story that goes along with this guy, when I made his shirt, this one's actually sewn, not super well, as you can tell. There's pieces coming out. I am not a seamstress. But I actually sewed this little shirt, and I was pretty proud about it, but I did not make it big enough to go over his head, and when I did, his head broke off. So, that was discouraging, obviously, and then I was really excited that he fit in the chair, but then I realized his legs are unproportional, and he just ended up being a general mess. Which is why I will be remaking all my dolls with a professional doll maker's pieces. So they will be the right scale, the faces are already painted. Sometimes in miniatures, it's okay to realize that something is just not your thing. I've realized that making dolls is just not my thing. I'm glad that I've tried it, and I'm glad that I'm going to actually be making them but using somebody else's pieces, because they have the skills and knowledge to make that and I do not. Maybe someday I will. Maybe someday I'll have that interest and that desire to learn that, but right now all I want are 7 Addams Family figures that don't look exactly like this. I hope what's coming across in the video is that I have a very positive outlook on my fails. I don't want you to be discouraged through this, because I learned a lot through these things, which is probably why I won't ever get rid of them. I won't be using them in my final project, but it's kind of a journal or a landmark along my way of learning in miniatures. So I actually want to keep these guys to kind of mark my progress. It's kind of like artists that keep their sketchbooks so they can look back a few years to see how their sketching and their art has improved. It's the same way with keeping some miniatures that maybe aren't your favorite, maybe they didn't come out that way, but you can look back and say, I've actually kind of improved since then. And I really love these miniatures. I'm going to keep them, especially Morticia has a warm place in my heart. She represents my Addams Family project, which is what originally got me into miniatures. It's actually going to be finishing up this year, but she'll be sticking around. I thought for a little bit maybe when I made the new one I'd get rid of her, but I don't think I can. She's kind of a landmark, these two little dolls, and I'm pretty proud of how they came out according to where I was during my miniature journey at that time. And the last one happened 3 weeks ago. And this one still hurts a little bit because I decided to try resin. And I didn't go into this blindly. I watched a lot of tutorials on YouTube over people pouring resin, tips and tricks, and so I kind of did my research. Now, what I did wrong is I probably should have started out with like a little bitty project, something small, and of course, I decided to do something huge. So now I have a huge resin failure. I will show it to you. It's something I wasn't going to show until it was completely finished and I was going to do like a little video tour. It's possibly savable, so that may still happen. Let me first tell you about what happened. I bought about $30 worth of resin with a coupon. Gotta do the coupon thing. And I was going to pour this ocean type thing. It's about that round. And I read the directions. It says to do it in sections. So I did it in 2 different sections. And I mixed and I mixed and I mixed for the time it says to mix. And I put in a little bit of coloring, and it's resin coloring. It wasn't food coloring or anything like that. So I was trying to follow the rules so closely. I don't know what happened, but it seems like the bottom cured, the top cured, but the middle didn't. Okay, so the top kind of cured. It was still really sticky, but I was like, well, if it's a little sticky, I can put a varnish or something on it and it'll be fine. But then I decided to peel the plastic off that was around the outside. It squished out. Let me give you an example. If you've ever made a peanut butter cracker and squished it, that's what happened. It kind of went like this. Squish. And then I was doing this. Go back in. So what I did was I took some clear caulking that's used for like showers and glass, and I put it around the outside and just prayed that it would hold. Here's the project. It's supposed to be a kraken attacking a boat, and my bald mermaid, who's not supposed to be bald, is down here trying to stop. But this is my resin C, I don't know if you'll be able to see on camera, but this side is much lower because this is where it was mostly squishing out than the other side. And today, I haven't looked at this in like a week and a half because I was a little angry at it. Today I realized it is still leaking. And so I'm guessing it's just gonna be gelatinous forever. I'm hoping I can contain it. It's okay to be frustrated because it really does frustrate me. Not only the time I put into it, but the amount of resin. It's $30 worth of resin pretty much ruined, but it's all an experience. It's something I've learned. I need to start smaller, and I do want to continue with resin, but I've actually learned way more than I thought I would because I've researched how to fix resin, how to try and make it cure faster, how to try and make it cure at all, how to contain it, how, obviously I need to research that a little bit more, how to get rid of the stickiness. And so through this experience, I've learned so much more than I would have if it just worked correctly the first time. But I hope you can see that even miniaturists that have been doing this for a while, that have a YouTube channel, that make tutorials to teach other people, we make mistakes too, especially when learning a new skill. And there's so many skills in miniatures to learn. I've been doing this for almost 10 years, and I'm still learning polymer clay. I have not even touched ceramic clay. I haven't even touched metal. I don't know how to electrify a dollhouse. So I'm probably not even halfway through my learning process. But honestly, it's the most fun learning process I've ever been through. I've had a lot of different jobs. I've worked in an architecture firm. I've had my own photography business. I did Mary Kay for a little bit. Honestly, the most fun I've ever had failing at something. It's because every day is new. Everything is a trial, and when it is successful, it's so rewarding. So if you're a beginning miniaturist, I super encourage you to keep going. Don't get frustrated. Well, you can get frustrated, get mad, but then keep going. Use it as a fuel and a fire to move forward and try it again. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed hearing about a few of my miniature failures, but mostly I hope you're encouraged to keep going, especially if you're feeling frustrated at the moment. As I've said before, good miniatures take time. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, and also I'll see you next time. Bye! This ever cure? Still sticky. Yes.